So I want to start out by saying thank you, Hashem, for giving me an amazing, wonderful opportunity and privilege to learn with you again, all of you again, to be able to share the wonderful teachings of Ibn Nachman and Ibn Nassim with you, and to be given the opportunity to not only share what I find so valuable in my life, practically speaking, but to share it with you and to hopefully improve your lives in a very meaningful and significant and practical way as well. Joining me here in Breslov studio in Elizabeth, New Jersey is my son Yehuda in person and all of you online. So I thank you very much for joining me again. And I look forward to sharing with you tonight's halacha and to hearing any feedback that you may want to share with us. I want to dedicate tonight's learning to a chola. She should have a refuah shlema. Her name is China Rachel Bas Gita Genendo. And I can't think of a more meaningful form of tefillah than learning in the zechus of somebody who needs something, especially refuah shlema, and internalizing those messages, making them real in our life, and trying to live our life, feed the Torah according to what we learn, and making it practical and real and tangible. So, God willing, that's going to be our goal tonight, and it should be a tremendous zechus for refuah shlema to China Rachel Bas Gita Genendo. We wish her a speedy and complete recovery. All right, let's get started. I was waiting so long to be able to do this halacha with you. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do and find it as meaningful as I have. So the halacha, as I mentioned in the beginning, is in Hilchos Chalukas Shutafin, which is the division of property. There's a halacha that says that when partners share property, like let's say a chatzer, an area, and there are houses that face that area, that each partner is entitled to a minimum of 4 amos in front of their own door. So that's non-negotiable. And there's other aspects of the concept of dalet amos or 4 amos. One is with regard to Shabbos, that if somebody is in a Reshus Harabim, not inside, let's say, an area that's settled, but really a Reshus Harabim, let's say on Shabbos, the maximum distance that he has to travel, unless he was Mekayim his Shvisa, unless he established his presence for that Shabbos in that place. If he did that before Shabbos, great, he's got 2,000 amos in every direction. If he didn't, then he's limited to the 4 amos all around him. So there's another example of 4 amos. And the third example is the idea of a kinyan and a Reshus Harabim. So for example, I'm in Reshus Harabim and I see an item that I would want to acquire in the Reshus Harabim. The Reshus Harabim is the public domain. No one has any more rights than anybody else in this domain. And let's say I find something that's hefker in the public domain. It's ownerless. I find a dollar bill sitting there. It's got no simon, it's got no indicator on it. It's just a. So when I come within 4 amos of that dollar bill, I actually have the opportunity to say that I desire that my 4 amos acquire that dollar bill. I don't have to touch it. I don't have to lift it. I have like this aura around me that extends for 4 amos that can make that kinyan for me. Interestingly enough, if the Chazal tell us that if, let's say, 2 people see the dollar and they jump on it and each one is trying to get it physically, meaning to grab it with their hands, then we don't care who within whose 4 amos range that dollar bill initially came into it. So in other words, let's say person B actually winds up holding the dollar bill. So then person A says, well, really, technically speaking, it was in my dollar amos before you came along, so really it should belong to me. Says Chazal, no. That concept of dollar amos konas rishus harabim, that the 4 amos is your domain in the rishus harabim to acquire things, that's an operative principle when you use it. But by actually trying to grab the item and struggling with somebody else perhaps to see who's going to grab the item, you're demonstrating you don't want that mechanism to play a role. So then when the other person gets it, even though it was in your dollar amos first, it's actually his. But putting all that aside, if somebody sees something within their dollar amos in the rishus harabim, in the public domain, then it is theirs. Their dollar amos have the ability, halachically speaking, to acquire that item. So those are the 3 examples: the rishus harabim, the public domain, the Pesach, the chalukas of the property, the chalukah of the property, and each one has 4 amos in front of their doorway, and the idea of 4 amos on Shabbos. So before we continue, I want to say welcome back to Pamela and Yankel. Shalom to everyone, especially with Hecht and his son. Thank you very much. And just I'll repeat one more time. I changed this format into a discussion, which means you don't need to type if you don't want to. I thought it would add to the flow and the spontaneity of anybody wanting to make a comment or raise a question or share an idea. And I just request that perhaps everybody keep their computers on mute so that if there should be a background noise, it won't interfere. But by all means, take it off mute when you want to say something. So I hope that that proves to be a worthwhile modality. Starting with the halacha, because I'm so eager to get started. You can't divide a chutzner until each one has at least 4 amos in front of his own door. So if you have 3 people, then you need at least a minimum of 12 amos in order to be able to divide up, so that each doorway gets 4 amos. Now, really, excuse me, if you have less than that, you could also divide it up, but then everyone gets equal portions. It's a little bit of a different halacha, but the basic premise is that everyone's entitled to 4 amos in front of their door. And Reb Nassim is going to show us what those 4 amos are really for. Why are Chazal so adamant that everybody should have 4 amos in front of their door? Is it just fairness? Is it air rights? I mean, right? So he's going to show us the spiritual content thrust behind why this is an important concept. And those 4 amos are going to be so that in front of each and every door for him to unburden his burden. In other words, that's the breakdown area before he goes into his home. He can take everything off his back. He can take everything out of the suitcase. He can arrange himself before he walks in the door. However, it has a very, very significant spiritual significance as well. Excuse me. Just as a hagdama, an introduction to tonight's halacha, I would like to express the notion that sometimes we see when it comes to spirituality and things that we consider to be not spiritual in nature, a division, meaning that a lot of times we see sometimes, maybe even ourselves at times, we get up in the morning and we say, okay, we're going to go daven. Okay, clearly we're engaged in a spiritual endeavor at that moment. Then when the person goes to work, night and day, something changes. All of a sudden they're behaving differently, they're acting differently. Where's the guy that was davening in shul? He was a big tzaddik. Look at this guy, how he's talking, what he's saying. Where's his ethics? Where did all of this go? And Reb Nassim is going to teach us that when it comes to mat masan, business dealings, and overall our interactions with the world at large, it's extremely important that we take the kedusha of the Torah with us. And we're going to understand why. Additionally, I wanted to just add as a forethought that if somebody wants to do something in an inappropriate way, there's a high likelihood that they will be successful. They will be. It could be somebody wants to steal, they'll steal. Somebody wants to do something in an inappropriate or halakhically inappropriate way, maybe Hashem will allow it to happen. Ultimately, however, either in his lifetime or at some point down the road, that's going to prove exceedingly disastrous. And as a result of that, we want to make sure that when we go into the business world and when we engage with the world at large, that we are doing it in the most halachically and hashkafically and morally way that we possibly can. Why? So that it's healthy for us, both physically and spiritually. That it'll be long lasting and it'll be a bracha for us. Because we are given the choice to do things in one of two ways. So without hakdama, we're going to start. And again, Reb Nassan always starts out with a short introduction. The Torah that we learned, that the depths cover him. He's going to give a quick introduction. I'm going to kind of go fast through this introduction because it should be very familiar to all of us at this point. Pasuk Zohar Tasa Teva, with regard to the pasuk that you should make the Zohar, the window or the stone for the Teva, for the ark. Ayin Sham, look over there. The Haklal, and the rule is when a person's ensconced in darkness, and he can't get out of there. The main way that he can extricate himself from that situation is to draw himself to truth. And concentrate, focus specifically and only on truth to the most extent that he can. And similarly through davening, through tefillah. When a person stands to daven, so this is what we said, that the klipos, all the negative distracting thoughts come and attack him, and they very much confuse him, totally frustrating. Kamo, I gotta switch the plate here. Excuse me 1 second. Okay, very good. As it says in the pasuk, that the wicked go round about him. Then the main advice for this person, and that's all of us, he should see to it that his prayers are said with truth. On whatever level he can. Whatever level you can, you don't have to be the biggest tzaddik at that moment. Just on whatever level you can squeak out even one word. If it's truthful, it has power. At the very least, he should say whatever he can say with truth in its most simple sense. And through that, this verbal expression that he's saying in truth, with trueness, there's such a word, let's say, will show him how to get out of his darkness. It will give him the advice, the direction he needs to remove himself from this dungeon that he finds himself in. Because truth is the light of Hashem himself, Kiviyachol. Bechinas or Hashem Ori, in the context of Hashem is my light. Ki Hashem Yisbarach hu etzem ha'emes, because Hashem Yisbarach is the epitome of truth. And when we speak truth, we're pulling Hashem into our world, into our darkness, and he is lighting up our world, literally. And therefore, al yidei ha'emes, through this emes, Hashem Yisbarach meir lo v'zocha leros ha'psachim. Hashem will enlighten it and show him the openings. How to get out of this horrible situation. Because in truth, there are many openings in that darkness. Never should a person feel like there's darkness and there's no way to get out. There are openings all around. He can't find them. Knowing that should energize a person to say, okay, I shouldn't get frustrated. I should look for the openings. How do I look for them? Can't see them. Okay, so with Nassim, Rabbi Nachman is telling us, how do you find those openings? Turn on the light. How do you turn on the light? Start speaking something of truth. Okay, that was the end of the previous sentence. You don't see these openings, but through truth. Meir lo ha'emes. The light of truth, as the expression goes, will shine for him. There was a psachim to find it, to see the doorways, the openings. Let's say to come out of the darkness. And it's because of that he'll merit the ability to daven, to pray. Before that, he didn't have the ability to pray. Interesting, right? Before that, he could have knocked his head against the wall and it might have not even been successful. Interesting. Now, because he's saying something of truth, Hashem says, oh, okay, now I want to hear what the person has to say. Now I'm getting closer to him and I'm going to enable him to pray properly. And through tefillah, he'll be zocha to parnasa, and as we learned, he'll be zocha to parnasa and shidduchim and zivugim. Ayin Sham, look over there. That's the review. Onward with the halacha. V'zeh bechinas arba amos, and this is the idea. If I use any word that someone's not familiar with, please just send a shout out, a chat text, or a verbal one. This is the idea of the 4 amos that you need to place before a door. Because a person has propriety over 4 amos wherever he is. That's axiomatic. To put it in English, a person has control over his immediate surroundings no matter what kind of environment he finds himself in. As our rabbis teach, these 4 amos, as we discussed in the preamble, a person can make all sorts of kinyanim, all sorts of acquisitions in that area, without even touching the thing. He just says, I called it. Remember in elementary school, you say, I call it. Well, guess what? Halachically speaking, if it's within your dalet amos, that actually works. As our rabbi said, the 4 amos of a person acquire for him in the Rishus Harabim. We're going to see what these words really mean. Rishus Harabim has a specific meaning. 4 amos has a specific meaning. Reb Nassim is not going to leave us in the dark as to what he means here. He is going to be exceedingly clear and instructive and give us the real tools we need to make some real quality improvements in our tefillah, in our lives, etc. Ki ikar kol hazchios v'hakinyanim shel adam. The main way that a person is zocha to things and can acquire things, it's through those sparks that a person clarifies. What does that mean? In a nutshell, what it means is that when Hashem created the world and there was a Shvius HaKelim, Kabbalistically speaking, and the world couldn't contain his Kedusha and everything went flying all over the place. I told you this was a nutshell. So everything has Kedusha to it. Everything, even the darkest places, there's Kedusha to be found there. The person who goes to find those Nitzotzos HaKedusha, those spiritually powerful sparks of holiness, when a person is looking for those and finds them, he acquires them. And when we go out to do things, like in business, really we're not there to earn an income. We're not really there to earn a paycheck. That's the physical manifestation of what we're doing. That's the disguise. The paycheck is the disguise. What we're really after is Kedusha. We want to find Hashem. How do we know we found it? When we do our business honestly, we do it properly, and then Hashem gives us that parnasa. Really what he's doing is he's handing over to us his Kedusha. So what we're after, what we're looking for isn't a salary, it's Kedusha. And we find that Kedusha by being engaged in building things and being a doctor or a lawyer or a real estate person, by doing any of the myriad of activities that a person does. You go out into the world, you engage with different kinds of people, you get involved in different kinds of activities. This puts you into contact with these sparks of Kedusha. When you find them, when you act appropriately, you acquire them. With them comes a paycheck, and that's parnasa. But the main thing you're after isn't the parnasa. The main thing you're after is the Kedusha. Bet you never heard that before. No, really. Did you ever hear that before? I never had. I mean, doesn't this change the whole concept of why we go to work every morning? I mean, really, you can look at yourself and you can say, okay, you know what, Eliyahu Hecht, listen, it doesn't make a difference whether you earn $10 a day or $12 a day. One day it'll be 10, one day it'll be 12. Yeah, okay, try your best. Of course, you have to make your greatest hishtadlus, of course. Of course you do that. However, ultimately, what you're after is Kedusha. And the paycheck is the Mugusham part of it. That's the like the psolas that comes along with it, the secondary part of it. So this is amazing. This is mind-blowing. And if you have that intent, you'll never ever think of getting something inappropriately, illegally, halachically incorrectly, because you'll say, "What am I doing? If I acquire something, is the Kedusha going to come flowing my way when I do something that Hashem told me I'm not supposed to do? I got to speak Lashon Hara in order to beat up my competitor, and then Hashem's going to bless me with Kedusha? I don't think so. What's going to happen is, yeah, he might get the income, but it's not going to come b'derech kadosh. It's not going to come with those holy sparks of Kedusha, and then it's not going to be good for the person ultimately." Because in everything in the world, there are sparks of holiness. And this, till I started learning and absorbing Rabbi Nachman's teachings and Rabbi Nassan's teachings, I never heard either. Believe it or not, it's so possible to go through life thinking one understands, yeah, you know what? In the Beis Medrash, there's Kedusha. In the Shul, there's Kedusha. Of course, there's Kedusha in the Torah. Of course, there's Kedusha in the Big Tzaddik. Over there's no Kedusha. With that guy, there's no Kedusha. In this kind of activity, there's no Kedusha. Wrong. Nothing could be further from the truth. Says Reb Nassan, everything, every activity, every person, Jew, non-Jew, living in India, living in America, doesn't matter where, what, how, what the activity is, there's Kedusha. Also, that's not that mind-blowing concept number 2. So that means that a person should never look at where he is in life and say, there's no way I can get close to Hashem from where I am right now. It's worthless. It's hopeless. Wrong. You're supposed to be working where you are. I mean physically, and I mean emotionally, and I mean hashkafically. I mean, wherever you are, wherever you find yourself, in any which way, financially, there's Kedusha to be found in that place. And you were put there to find that Kedusha. And we're going to learn, God willing, in future Shiurim, that that's exactly why you are there. To find the Kedusha in that place. Now, obviously, a person should not put themselves in a dangerous situation, spiritually speaking, obviously not physically also. God forbid. A person should also choose to try to live in a place that has Talmidei Chachamim, to ask Shailas to, etc. Okay, granted, that's the case. But let's say someone says, I'm a businessman. There's no Kedusha in business. You got to be cutthroat. You got to be after everybody for himself. Wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It doesn't have to be that way. There's Kedusha in business also. The Iker Hamas Oman, and the main idea behind business, we're going to translate just Mas Matan as it's give and take, but really it's just business. All interactions with regard to between people, with regard to earning a living, earning money, etc. The main thrust of what he's trying to do is find those sparks of Kedusha. And through being able to clarify, identify, and grasp those sparks of holiness, that's how he's going to be able to merit making an acquisition on those items. Again, a person could do it in the wrong way. Because we're talking here about doing it the right way that will prove to be a healthy endeavor for the entire span of existence, for himself, for his family, etc. But since these sparks of holiness are hidden within the activity of earning a living, engaging in business, they're resting and spread out among the klipos, the shells, the distractions, the taivos ra'os of the sitra achra, meaning the other side, meaning all negative forces. So we have an environment that is very interesting. Everything looks very challenging, dark, bleak, and the environment actually inspires us to act in a similar way, in a more animalistic way to the environment. And in order to find those mitzvos HaKedusha which lie within there, we have to actually fight against that tendency. So they're hidden in this environment, b'choshech gadol, in great darkness. Al-kain, therefore, kasha levarim misham. It's hard to find them. No one's saying it's not hard. But once you know that's the job, then you say, okay, I'm on board. I'm on board with the program. Fine, now I get it. That's half the battle. Al-kain, and therefore, ikar tikkun amasoman, the main tikkun, the main way to fix up the whole engagement of business, who are you the MS, is through truth. As our rabbi said, it's a Gemara in Shabbos. Now, I wanted to quote the Gemara inside because it's very powerful and very interesting. I didn't put it up online because I figured it would just distract. It's a short Gemara. I'll quote it inside here. But basically, the upshot is that when a person passes away from this world and goes up to Shemayim, boom, first question they ask him, did you put on tefillin? No. Did you keep Shabbos? No, not at all. Oh, what's the question? Omar Rava, Rava says, B'shash machnisin adam ladin, when they bring the person in for the day of judgment, Omrim lo, they say to him, meaning the Bezdin Shamala, the heavenly court, Nasasa, Venasata, Be'emuna. Did you do your business dealings with Emuna? Really? That's the most important thing? You don't care if I ate pork? You don't care if maybe a person's spouse was Jewish? I mean, these are pretty important things. Well, probably they will be really important eventually. But the very first question says, Rabba, it's not all those things. It's, did you do your business dealings with Amunah? Rabba continues, Kavata mitim the Torah. Did you set up time to learn Torah? Asakta b'pirya ribya. Did you engage in the process of bringing new life into the world? And the Marsha on that says that it means, really, did you help others get married? Did you facilitate the opportunity for someone else to get married and to start a family, etc.? Interesting shot by the Marsha. Then he says, Tapisi Shua, did you anticipate the final redemption? Okay, so we're up to a long list already. Still, we haven't gotten to any of the things you would normally expect. Pipalta b'chochma, did you engage in a pilpul of wisdom? In other words, did you try your best at learning and try to understand the intricacies of Torah? Okay, that's of course on someone's level. I'm sure that my pipalta b'chochma, my pilpul b'chochma, mine Eliyahu Hecht, is not going to be on the level of his brothers. But hopefully at some point I'll be able to say, yeah, there were times when I tried my best to learn and I got pretty confused in the process. So I guess that constitutes pilpul. All right. And then it says, did you understand something from within something else? Meaning, did you try to delve into something to really understand it? By inference, by inferring one thing from the other. But then Rava says something really fascinating, which is why I wanted to share this with you rather than just quote it real fast. He says, nevertheless, regardless of what this person answers to any one of these, primary questions that they ask the person, regardless of his answer, yiras Hashem hi otsaro, if yiras Hashem is what fills his storehouse, meaning that was the underlying theme sort of in his life, yes, he's okay. They'll deal with him. They can work with him, regardless of the other answers. So even if the answer is, he really didn't do one of those things. Okay, so but you know what? Bottom line is, did you have Yiras Hashem? Yes, then we have what to work with. Ilolo, and if not. Then you better have the right answer for all the other questions to maybe get started. What we're learning here about approaching things with MS, what did Rav Nassim say to us about this? What did Rabbi Nachman say MS does? Brings us into proximity with Hashem. I want to say that MS is a way of living life with Yiras Hashem. Because when somebody is aware that he's speaking MS, that he's trying to live his life with MS, he's more acutely aware of Hashem's involvement in his life and being accountable to Hashem. And as a result of that, he's definitely going to be bound to have more Yiras Hashem. He's going to say, I can't do that because Hashem said no. Or I have to do that because Hashem said yes. So I want to say that when we're learning about MS, and that MS is Hashem Kaviyachol, and we live in close proximity with MS, that brings us in touch with Yiras Hashem. So maybe a little bit what Rav Nassim is hinting to over here, and Rabbi Nachman is that, yes, the first question we'll ask you is, did you do your business dealings with Emunah? And yes, we're going to discuss that in very much depth and meaning, but ultimately, really, all of this process is to develop a tangible relationship with Hashem based on MS that will lead naturally to Yiras Hashem. Unbelievable. I just had to share that with you. Okay, continuing. So that's the first question they ask. How was business? Oh, it's going pretty good. I'm comfortable. No, that's not what they ask. Did you do it with Emunah? Did you do it with MS? Did you do it with Yiras Hashem? as is brought in the words of Rabbeinu Zechron Lebracha, Ma'amar Hazohar Kadosh, Tzedek, righteousness, Kad is Chabar Ba Emes, righteousness, when it's united with truth. So righteousness united with truth is Avidas Emunah. It creates faith. It creates Emunah. So you see a strong correlation between righteousness, which is tzedek, in business being righteous, being honest. I'm sighing because it's so prevalent that you unfortunately hear time and time again people who have such a major challenge living their business lives with a degree of MS. It's not always easy, but it's something that once we're aware of and how to do, as taught by Reb Nosson here so beautifully, that if you could get on board, that's half the battle, like I said before. That when a person engages in business, whatever business it is, and it's a place of darkness, great darkness. When I say great darkness, what I mean, does that mean that people are walking around Manhattan and bumping into each other? Well, first of all, they are walking around Manhattan bumping into each other. But putting that aside, really, especially if you ride the subway, but that's not what I really mean. What I mean is, Choshech Gadol, great darkness is, oh boy, I'm sitting at my desk, and all of a sudden, an opportunity comes along the way, and I can make a lot of money. And I really need it. And it'll even be good for some of the players, other people. I even have a sense that, wow, I could do so much good with this deal. It's not the right thing to do. What do? Choshech, darkness, uncertainty. That's what I mean by choshech. You're surrounded by uncertainty about what to do in different situations. Yashrus, kashrus, you're doing it straight, you're doing it kosher, or you're being a shmeidre. You're trying to bend the rules, even if you think you're benefiting everybody else in the process. It's not going to happen. So all of this darkness, kedusha, and it surrounds that holiness, hanafulos, that kedusha hanafulos, meaning that kedusha that I described before, that's dwelling in that masa umatan area of life, that those nitzosas hakadusha, those sparks of holiness, are dwelling in that environment. Shema nitzosas hakadosha misocha masa umatan. That's what I just said. Ad shenigodeh hachoshech, until the such an extent that due to the fact that it's so dark, so confusing what to do, kashma'od, it's so challenging, liros, to see clearly, levar hamitzosas hakdoshim, it's so hard and challenging to identify, to find those mitzosas hakdosha. It's also possible, God forbid, how many people are in jail right now because they lost track of their spiritual moorings and they gave it away and they did things they weren't supposed to do because they got so taken up by their environment. They got consumed by the choshech. Rather than going into the environment and extracting the kedusha and bringing it into them, they got sucked into that environment. Yishchach Hashem Yisborach, and they forgot Hashem. Yisrachim Avodaso, and they got so far away from serving Him. Because of the confusion, the preoccupation of the business environment. Again, it doesn't matter what business you're in. No matter what business you're in, we're generalizing it to every kind of worldly interaction that any person could have in any environment. And all of this is because of the tremendous darkness. Excuse me while I change the slide. Shiesham, that's over there. Al Kain, therefore, Iker HaTikun, Baha'etza, the main tikun, the main way out of this situation, the main advice. Lezehu emes is for truth, for truth. You know, my father-in-law, Alav Shalom, started his career in the textile industry as a salesman. And he told us a story that one time he went to a client and he wanted to sell him his material. And the client, let's say, wanted to order a certain quantity, let's say 100 units. My father-in-law said to him, I'm only selling you 50. The guy was surprised. He said, what are you talking about? I said I wanted to buy 100. So my father-in-law explained to him. He said, listen, sell you 100, that's an awful lot. There's a chance you're not going to need it all. Then you can have extra. You're going to wish I didn't sell you the 100. And as a result of that, you're going to think I was just taking advantage of you. And you're not going to want to continue to be my client. I would much rather sell you less and develop a relationship with you of trust and understanding. And then we can continue this relationship going forward, mutually respectful and trustworthy. And that's the way he tried to live that part of his business life. Shiyir l'zayir ma'od ma'od. The person needs to be very careful also to do his business dealings with truth and with emunah. Yishmor atzmo ma'od, and a person needs to guard himself very much. L'bli lahachlif, not to exchange this, that's another word for exchange, to give this up. Livli l'shalos dibur klal, and not to change his words. In other words, what comes out of your mouth in the business environment, whether it's the verbiage or whether it's the message, should not be any different than what comes out of your mouth when you're in the base medrash or in shul or in your own homes. Just because you're in a business environment is not a license to behave differently. It's actually the environment you want to behave especially that way, as we're going to see. Rak called Devarov, all his words, all of his dealings, Bahamas Hamatan, in the business environment, should be truthful and righteous. Azai, if you just make that as the baseline and say, tough luck, that's just the way I'm going to make it from now on, you'll see, and you just make a commitment to that, and it's not a question, you'll see that you could actually, if you haven't been able to do it in all situations, if you approach it this way and understand the spiritual underpinnings of what it means to go out and be engaged in business, you'll find it a lot easier to hold this as a principle. To live this as a principle. And through the accentuating of MS, that he implants within his business dealings, this is the MS that he's going to be able to open those doorways for him to see where they are. That's within that very, very intense darkness, all of the sparks of Kedusha that are imprisoned there. So I hope this is developing some pretty powerful imagery. Basically, Hashem has entrusted us with an amazing job, an opportunity. He created a world that part of his Kedusha is lying in what would otherwise be a spiritual wasteland of darkness. And he empowers us with the unique and special ability to go into that like special SWAT team and recover it. And when we do that, it infuses us with Kedusha, and wonderful, wonderful things can happen. And it requires this effort, as we saw as we can learn also, not us personally, but in Torah Lamed Vav 36 that I'm learning with my in-person Chabura, we see that Rabbi Nachman teaches us that Galus plays a very important role in the development of a person. And that what he can accomplish in a state of Galus, he can't accomplish anywhere else. Galus plays a role. In a similar way, finding these nitzosas hakdosha within the business environment, where usually the rest of the world is saying, cutthroat, anything goes, do what you need to do to get ahead, right? Even if it's stepping, God forbid, on someone else, or putting someone else out of business, whatever it is, right? But within that environment are those sparks of holiness. And when you find them, you will be so blessed, because your light will, the light in your life will shine with eitzos, with advice, with doorways, with Yeshuas. But it only comes about because you endured the experience of, in a certain sense, as we discussed when we did learn the Torah here, in a certain sense, you helped Hashem, quote unquote. You brought Hashem into this world. You brought the revelation of Hashem into this world, into focus. You brought the understanding of Hashem to greater acuity in the eyes of those who know you and interact with you through your behavior, through your speech. And as a result of that, Hashem will reward you in kind by giving you the parnasa you need, and by giving you the shefa of zivug that you need, and in many, many other ways, because you took these nitzosas hakadoshim out of jail, out of prison, and released them by finding them, by being yashar in the business environment. My goodness, I just wish that they would teach this to every young man and woman who is entering, graduating high school and entering college or entering the business world. I just wish they would teach this. How many lives would we be able to save? How many careers? How many marriages and families that have been destroyed because of this kind of thing? It's unbelievable. Not only that, forget about the ones that go destroyed. What about the ones that they're not as good as they could be? They're just not as good as they could be. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, go start your day tomorrow. Wake up and say, today I'm going into the business world to find sparks of holiness. How will I do it? By watching what comes out of my mouth, that it's MS. I'll find them. It's like a magnet. Zoom. They come right towards you. And as a result of that, the person can be zocha and will be zocha. Now, I'm not saying, that a person, okay, he needs a refuah, God forbid, or God willing. And somebody asks him a question like, okay, where can I catch the D train? And he says, 2 blocks from here. Oh, that was MS. Okay, all of a sudden he's going to get a refuah. I'm not saying that. I'm not. It's not up to me to promise what kinds of interactions the person has and what he needs to do to acquire the things that he needs in his life. But I rely on Reb Nassim, and I rely on Rabbi Nachman and our Chazal. And they say that when a person engages in life with MS, they will be zocheh to Yeshua's. Period. End of story. For me, at least. Excuse me. Because the great darkness, you can't get out of there. Those sparks can't get out of there. I meant to say, MS. Through doing your business dealings with kashrus and yashrus and MS, or Hashem Yisbarachana, which is really bringing Hashem into the situation, he'll be able to find those doorways. And through this, he'll be able to get all the sparks out of there. He'll be zoche to a great amount of parnasa and to wealth. Now, again, I will qualify that to say that doesn't mean that everyone who's honest in business is going to be a multi-millionaire. But then again, that's not the definition of parnasa, is it? The definition of parnasa is I have what I'm supposed to have. So if a person says, okay, I'm supposed to earn X amount of dollars a year, and that's what Hashem has for me in store for parnasa. Okay, if I go about it the wrong way, I can earn it. I can even earn more than that, maybe. But again, it's not going to be a happy endeavor. On the other hand, if the person approaches what he does with MS, he'll earn that amount. Granted, there'll be other people in the same neighborhood who are earning a lot more. They'll go on fancier vacations. They'll get to go away for whatever they want. There'll always be that sliding scale of cheshbonos that Hashem has for every person. But the bottom line is his parnasa will come in fullness. Whatever was supposed to be his parnasa will come in fullness and will come in the appropriate, healthful way, spiritually and physically. And ashiras and wealth. And wealth, as we all know, is experienced by a multitude of factors. The ayade beira hanitzos, by finding these sparks, zocha b'kol kinyanim over ashiras. They'll be zocha to making all kinds of acquisitions and wealth. And also, as our rabbis said, to doing your business dealings with Amunah, you'll be zocha to parnasa. Okay, we're going to go a little bit more. I'm hoping, and it's my sincerest prayer, that this is hitting an internal chord with everybody that hears it, to look at what they do every single day, unless you're already retired. But even then, even if somebody's retired and volunteers or interacts, goes to this, forget about it, I take it back. Even if somebody's retired, they go to the grocery store, they hand $5 for a container of something. They're engaged in masamat. They're engaging in a transaction. Everybody does, no matter who you are. I'm hoping, with hopes of hopes, that this enhances a person's understanding and connection to this process. Why does Hashem have us engaging in this Masa Umatim process? This is why. Unbelievable. Nimsa. So it turns out that the main fix, the main tikkun of business, MS is going to be through MS. It's going to take place through the mechanism of MS. Shuhu b'chinas emuna, which is emuna. And through this process, he'll see the doors. To clarify, to extract those sparks, those holy sparks, that's in every single item, as we said before, in every area of business. Through this, it's also an insurance policy. The insurance policy is that he won't be sucked into the wrong place. I was having a discussion with somebody not long ago about sometimes these freebies that they give out for certain things like credit cards. And I'm just very much opposed to them, because when you engage in this type of way where you're expecting something or you're doing something for other reasons, it's a very, very slippery slope. The person has to be very, very careful. And most of the time, it's better to say, no thanks. I don't want to get sidetracked into that concept. I just wanted to say, it's not just the one environment of your business deal. Whenever you're engaging with someone else or another entity, be it a bank, credit card, the grocery store, expand it to whatever you possibly can. Whenever you engage in a business sense with anything, anybody, this is what we're talking about. And it's got to be with MS. MS because the truth will shine for him. The openings, how to get out of the darkness, that is there, therein lies the key. Therein lies the key. Ulehiskarev Hashem Yisbarach. Because the main reason why we're doing this and going into the choshech of business is to find Hashem. If someone is going into the choshech of business to make it big, better beware. If someone goes into the choshech of business to find Hashem, and he goes in with the submachine gun of MS, he's going to be safe. But that's what we're actually doing. That's what we're doing by going into business. We're finding Hashem. And this is the idea that we mentioned at the beginning, that the 4 amos of a person can acquire for him in the public domain. The public domain, in some sense, conjures up image of the Wild West. Anything goes. This is Hefker land. Anything can happen. Dangerous. Lawless. Right? That's the Rishus HaRabin. Sometimes it actually feels that way. Ki Rishus HaRabin hu Rishus HaSisra Achra, because the Rishus HaRabin is just that. It's the Rishus of the Sitra Achra. It's the domain of all the dark side spiritual forces. Sheisham Achizas HaChitzonim, that they have a foothold in that area. Because it's so dark and lawless in a sense, that's what gives a tfisa. That's what gives these negative forces their foothold to have any sort of sway and influence. But even when a person enters this dangerous situation called the Rishus HaRabin, the public domain, where anything can happen, that's where all of the dark forces can get close to him and try to influence him, God forbid. Gam Sham Yeshla Arba Amos, he has his Arba Amos there. Today I was walking around thinking to myself, Hashem, help me remember that no matter where I am physically, no matter where I am in my heart, no matter where I am in my mind and my soul, no matter where I am holding, I always possess ownership over my Dalet Amos. That's my domain. Nobody can take that away from me, no matter where I am. Even if I'm in the Rishus HaRabin, those 4 amos are mine, and I don't want to give them away. And these 4 amos are like the 4 letters. Get it? 4 letters of Hashem name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and 4 amos. Because each person has contained within him the name of Hashem. K'moshe Isa, the Zohar Kadosh, as explained in the Zohar Kadosh. And I'm not going to go into this because I did not look into the Zohar Kadosh for this. I did listen to a shir by Rav Nosson Naiman, who explained that there are parts of the human body that the Zohar correlates either physically by description, in other words, the Vav of the Yud Kei Vav Kei is long and the Yud is small, comparing different body parts and organs to the Yud Kei Vav Kei physically, or numerically in a gematria kind of way, that the body, the person, is actually an embodiment of the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Shem Havaya of Hashem. K'moshe Isa b'Zohar Kodesh, as it's described there. The less Ever, the lo Shayabei, Shem Havaya. There's no limb of a person that doesn't have a possession of the Shem Havaya, the Shem Hashem, and the Shem of Hashem. Zeh bechinas or ha'emes. The name of Hashem is light. Light. No, I don't know how to say it any clearer in a sense. Light. We all want to be able to see where we're going in life. Think about it. We want to see where we're going in life. You wouldn't drive your car at night without turning on the headlights, especially if you were in a very dark, secluded area. The darker it is, the more you want those headlights. You'll use your brights. You want more light. We're going around kind of like, mice, blind mice in a sense. But we don't need to be going around that way. We can turn on the light. We can see where we're going. But we have to do our part. We have to turn on the light by bringing Hashem into the world, by bringing Hashem into our reality. And He will turn on that light because Hashem is emes and Hashem is light. The stronger we make this imagery, the stronger our motivation to implement this will be. So don't be afraid to spend some time really thinking about it and developing some real serious imagery with regard to these topics. In fact, that's the real purpose of an imagination. Not to have frightful fantasies about things. What would it be if I was a billionaire? Really, the main purpose of imagination is to view yourself as a better Eved Hashem, and then to see yourself filling that role, but in a positive way, not in a negative, self-destructive way, God forbid. Or Hashem Ori, Hashem is my light, ki emes daled le'olam, because emes is for. Yeah, Yankel is saying Rabbi Nachman has a book called The Anatomy of the Soul, which was an amazing book that enlightened my life as a physician, but would benefit everyone. Yeah, I have not read that book yet, but I've heard also amazing, wonderful things. Thank you for suggesting that. Ki b'chol adam, b'chol makom, every person in every place, shuhu, let me start that one again. Ki b'chol adam, for every person, b'chol makom shuhu, in whatever place he is. Even on the lowest level. Guess what, buddies? Especially on the lowest level. If you find yourself on the lowest level, guess what? Boy, do you have a wonderful job. It means that on the lowest level, you're the one who can find Hashem the lowest level. Isn't that an amazing way to look at it? Oh, I'm on the lowest level. Good! Great news! Maybe everyone else is holier than you. They're floating in the stratosphere. You're on the lowest level. You want to look at yourself that way? Okay, fine. Look at yourself that way. You're on the lowest level. Guess what? You have a job to do. A really important job to you. Find those sparks of holiness on that lowest level where you are. First of all, you're not on the lowest level. And second of all, even if you want to think of yourself on the lowest level, you have a big job and an important job. So get busy. We need you. Even in the public domain. That's where all the negative things are. Even there's certainly so, more so. There's something good, there's good spots, there's good points. That's rooted in those places. Get busy. We need you. We need to find Hashem. We need to accentuate Hashem's existence in this world, and that's where we're going to find it. Right there in the lowest places. This is the Shem Havaya. This is the idea of the Shem Hashem being in every person. Which is the light of truth, and which is the essence of this dot, of these points. Shame. Excuse me while I change the slide. Changing the slide always seems to come at the most inopportune. Anyway, sorry. Shame. Ben Arba Osios. The 4-letter name of Hashem Yod Kei Vav Kei. We're just going to finish this paragraph up to Dalet. Take a couple of more minutes. As we said, Me'or Hazeh, from this light, Nimshachin Arba Amos Sheish L'chol Adam, is drawn the 4 Amos. This is like your aura. When you have MS, it's like a force field all around you, pulsating. Or I'm just trying to make it seem dynamic. I can make it boring, but I tend to like the imagery myself. It makes it very strong and powerful. Walk around thinking to yourself, you've got this pulsating, vibrant aura around you that's created by your MS that is a magnet for Hashem's Kedusha, wherever you go and whatever you're doing. Shem Keneged Arba Osios Hashem, because there's connected 4 letters of Hashem's name. Yud Kei Vav Kei. Okay. And this is the 4 amos that a person has no matter where he is. Lahoros, to show that regardless of where the person is, even in the worst places, meaning in dangerous, spiritually dangerous places like the Rishus Harabim. By the way, the idea of Rishus Harabim is also a dangerous place because, for example, in Baba Kama, the Gemara teaches us that that when you have a cow that damages through shein or regal, through its mouth, through eating, or through stepping on things, he doesn't in the Rishus Harabim, he's potter. He doesn't have to pay for it. Because why? It's obvious. Because cows walk around in the Rishus Harabim. And if you're in the Rishus Harabim, you better watch out for those cows. It's your responsibility to stay out of its way. You know this is going on there. Beware, like buyer beware. So the Rishus Harabim is a dangerous place. Algo, did you want to say something?
Baruch Hashem.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Baruch Hashem. Wonderful teaching.
Oh, I only hope that it enters my heart, and Devam Shabalev, Nichnasim Balev, which my heart should enter, what's in my heart, the good should enter all of your hearts.
Amen at the highest level.
Amen, 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 amen. Okay.
As the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, may we go from strength to strength.
Amen. Thank you. I hope you're not leaving yet, because I just want to finish the paragraph.
No. I'm staying through. Thank you.
Okay, good, excellent. Good to hear your voice. I think this is a wonderful. When I saw it about the conference, about the discussion, I was like, that seems like a. Let's try that. So far, it's been good.
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem.
Okay, going on. Gam sham yesh lo makom ve'ein shum miniya ubita ba'olam. Let's get a head start for this sentence because I'm kind of lost my place, mentally speaking. This is the idea of the 4 amos that each person possesses, wherever he is, lahoros, to show, to demonstrate, wherever the person is, even in the dangerous places, meaning the public domain, even there he's got his place. He's got his place. And there's nothing that can stop him from having his place. Nothing is going to abrogate, cancel, negate, or any other word you want to come up with. His 4 amos are his 4 amos. And don't relinquish them. Don't relinquish them to someone else.
Amen.
Even in these places, he has his place. The 4 amos, and they're being drawn from the light of truth. And that's why I was using the idea of the imagery of the pulsating. What did I call it? You hear that? The pulsating. I forgot the word I used. Like the pulsating aura that the person has, because this is his word. Shu mispashet. It's spreading. He's got emes, so that spreads for up to 4 amos around him. V'nosein lo makam, and it gives him place. It gives him a place. Afilu b'rishus harabim, even in the rishus harabim. V'alkein, and therefore, Elo harba amos, these 4 amos, and makam, by the way, is also Shem Hashem. What is it? It's 5 times UK Vav K? I forgot. How many times UK Vav K is makam? Is makam? Hashem is the makam of the world.
Amen.
Yalkain, and therefore, Elu ha'arbos amos kolim lo kol hakinyanim. These 4 amos can acquire for him all kinds of kinyanim. Because through these 4 amos, Shem Bechinas or Ha'emes, which is the idea of the light of truth, he'll be able to see the doorways. That lie within the darkness. That were in the dangerous Rishus Rabbin. And that's why you're there. To find those doorways through Emes. And then, when he sees the doors, when he sees those openings, he'll be able to find and extract all of the sparks of Kedusha that are embedded in those places. Within the Sitra Achra, and the darkness. And through the process of identifying and grabbing those sparks of holiness, then he'll be able to really make some serious kinyanim, not just in Parnasa, not just in Zivugim, but in all areas of his life. I'm going to hold it up over there, and I'm just so grateful to be able to, again, as I started tonight, to be able to number one, to learn this material even for myself. But what a zichus, what a tremendous privilege it is to share it with you and to anybody else who listens online. It's unbelievable, and it's only my hope and prayer again and again, that whoever hears it should only understand Reb Nachman's words and apply them in his or her life in a way that brings us closer to greater Yedias Hashem and Kirvas Hashem.
Baruch Hashem.
I want to wish everybody who attended tonight, Yaya and Yanko, Dr. Weinstein, Beryl, David, Pamela, Stefania, Yehuda, Yashikach to you. I always feel that if I have some insight or ability to express a thought or something that I hope is effective, that it's really the zichus of everybody that's listening or that will listen. Because on my own, I can learn something a million times and I'm going nowhere with it. And I'm preparing for something. If I have an insight, it's to the credit of the people who are listening, obviously. Because on my own, I can only get so far. So God willing, what's that?
Your teachings inspire me all the way through Shabbos to meditate on. They're wonderful. They're an absolutely amazing melamed. And may Hashem continue to bless us with your presence and your teachings.
Amen. Thank you very much. I hope that I only will serve as a accurate and inspirational mouthpiece and interlocutor for the holy teachings of Rabbi Nachman and Rabbi Nosson. Thank you so much. If anybody during the course of the week has something that they would like to share with regard to the application of anything we learn, send me an email, leave out the details. It doesn't have to be super personal. It would just be interesting if we could share some ideas, if possible. If not, I understand that people feel uncomfortable sometimes sharing things, but I just hope that it's practical for everybody.
Is there any way I can get your email, Reb Hecht?
Yeah, it's on the Breslov campus website. It's also my name, Eliyahu Hecht @gmail.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah. So
your humility, my friend, speaks volumes of your ability to be a wonderful teacher.
Yanko, thank you. I heard Nosson Maimon was mentioning the story of Eliyahu Navi being sold. He sold himself as a slave, and also of Choni Amago. They both put themselves in compromising positions for the benefit of Klal Yisrael, and each one cried out to Hashem, Hashem, I only did this to elevate your name and stature in this world. I am not Eliyahu Navi, I am not Choni Amago by any chance, but I just hope that I can do the right thing for everybody, including myself, my family, and all of you. So Yashkara, thank you very much. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and
Shabbos, good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.